Okay, so we are going to take the car out for more or less, it's my maiden voyage, even though I have driven it a couple miles, but that was really just to get from point A to point B. But today I need to take a look at all the fluids. I have no idea what needs to be topped off and what doesn't. Check the coolant, oil, all that good stuff. I'm probably going to clean the windshield because when I did drive it the other day, the sun glare made it almost impossible to see out the window. So cue the time lapse. Luckily everything checked out, no major concerns, but you know, this is what we're kind of starting with. This is the CS Racing intake box that Chris installed in one of his videos. You know, we got some things to address. I think obviously getting the car safe to drive is probably the first concern. Anyway, looks like we're good to go for a ride. Maybe 3 inches. Okay, so I knew ground clearance was gonna be an issue. My neighborhood does have your standard mountable curb, but it's taller than 3 inches. So what I've done is I've taken some 2x12s, just laid them flat, and it'll work to get the car off my driveway, hopefully without too much scrapage. So let's, it's been sitting here for a while with the lights running, so let's see if she starts up. I do have insurance for the car, that is official. I am still waiting on a couple pieces of paper. They should have been here this weekend, so I'm hoping they just got a little delayed because of the holiday. But once I have those pieces of paper from Chris, then I will be able to take this down to my DMV and hopefully get it registered. I have called and talked to them, and of course it is a little bit of a unique situation, being that it's never been registered in the United States. Chris never actually finished the registration process, so I'll essentially be the first official registration for the United States. So I don't think the air conditioning is working, so I'm gonna try to see how this goes having the window down. So here we go. So we are gonna tackle my my 2x12 situation here. The car does make a lot of noise, so I'll speak a little louder. Hopefully you can hear me okay. And you know, driving on the right hand, I thought at first would be a really big adjustment, but it really hasn't been. Again, this is my basically 3rd time of ever being in the car, and turn signal is on the right side, not the left side. But it is a very, I think what gets you the most is your positioning on the road, but you know, shifting, no big deal. It's the same clutch and pedal configuration, so no big deal. Again, like I said, the turn signal being on the right versus the left for left-hand drive cars is probably that'll take some time getting used to, because constantly turn the wipers on when you want to turn signal. But just so responsive. The steering is super tight, doesn't feel like it has hardly any play. My old Honda Civic, 1995 Honda Civic, had mechanical steering, and that car, it just felt like it was on rails. My previous car, my E92 coupe, again, super tight, super responsive steering. One thing I have noticed is the clutch, if you hold it in for a couple of seconds, there must be a small leak in the master cylinder that is causing the clutch to pressure to leak. So as long as you change the gears, let your foot off the clutch like you should be anyway, it's no big deal. But for the most part, you get the cool turbo sounds, and I mean, like I said, as you can probably tell from all the shaking in the camera, the biggest thing I would probably want to address, other than some mechanical issues, is the suspension. It is very, very, very bouncy. I haven't checked the tire pressure. Maybe the tires are a little overinflated, but for the most part, yeah, I mean, it's just a great drive. I am a little cramped sitting in this seat. I will probably want to look at, in the future, getting a different seat that maybe doesn't have as much sides. Disassemble the seat rail so I can weld it a little bit farther back. That'll give me a little bit of leg room. Like right now, as I'm using the clutch, my leg is basically in the steering wheel the entire time. But from what Chris did with the car over his channel, I think this is going to be an amazing project car. It just turns heads everywhere it goes. It's just unique. It's not something you see. I think most of us can say, probably most people 25 to 35 years old, maybe older, we were probably really exposed to these RX-7s with the first Fast and Furious. Dominic Toretto had that red RX-7, and I mean, I think pretty much anybody that saw that car just was like, wow, what is that? So I think this is a kind of a cult classic kind of car. It's definitely an iconic car. I think it's just a car that, especially where I live, there's not a lot of people that see these. So it's just turning heads. And of course the wide body kit and the wheels and all the sounds, it's really a spectacle. I have cars because I want to drive cars, and I want people to appreciate the work that we put into them. So this is a car that will, I don't see, you know, there's going to be haters. There's always haters. There's going to be people that complain about this and complain about that. But for the most part, I think everybody can appreciate this car. And again, the rarity of it, especially where I live, is going to make it a draw. You know, I plan on doing shows and events and things like that, hopefully in the future, once we get this thing all cleaned up and address some of the major issues. But like I said, there's just, you know, I'll have to live with the car on a daily basis to really get a feel for what, it's really like. But I mean, this thing just goes. You feel when that second turbo really kicks in, and you know, the single turbo that's in my 335, of course it's tuned and it's super responsive, and I mean, there's really very little turbo lag. And again, this one you kind of feel a little bit of turbo lag, but I think it's something that could be, we can compensate for that. Golly, oops, there we go with the windshield wipers. But yeah, you know, like I said, it's got some clutch work. It's going to need to figure out what all these oil leaks are. And, I mean, we're going to need some body panels, trim pieces. We're missing lots of, you know, there's some floppies things here and there. I have already been on, a little scrape. I have already been on some websites trying to find some of the specific right-hand drive pieces, which I've had a little bit of difficulty. I do want to get a right-hand drive factory carpet. The carpet that's in here, it's, you know, it just doesn't fit very well. A lot of little loose pieces here and there. I think it was actually made for a left-hand drive car, and they tried to get it to fit on this right-hand drive version. So there's lots and lots of projects, but this is where you guys are going to come in. I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you guys are interested in. Are there specific items you'd like me to go over in detail versus just kind of, you know, everybody's done body kits and everybody's done this and that. You know, I basically want to help you guys understand how these rotary engines work. If you have any questions about seals and disassembly, I think that's maybe one of the projects over this winter will be pulling the engine and transmission out of this car, redoing the seals, doing a lot of performance upgrades. You know, I think if we can live with this car around 400 to 500 horsepower, I think that's a comfortable number for this car. And we're not going to have to go crazy porting and having to buy special blocks and having rotors machined and all kinds of stuff. So please put a comment down below what you guys would like me to see me do with this car. And there's a police car. Act cool. God damn. Anyway, so please comment down below what you guys would like to see me do with the car. You know, I want your feedback. If there's anything in particular you guys find interesting that isn't necessarily covered too well. And I'm just stuttering because this car is just so much fun to drive. It's it's just that responsive. It has almost 86,000 kilometers, which is about 53 some thousand miles. And I know Chris did some work to the car, but I think the suspension, you know, the bushings and most of the components are factory, or hopefully a factory original to the car. But it just feels great, and like I said, it's a head turner. I do need to get the seat adjusted so that I can feel a little more comfortable while driving it. I do have the quick disconnect hopefully on order. I do have new Rocket Bunny lights hopefully coming this week. We think it's a faulty module down there with the light controller, so I'm going to get that replaced. You know, Chris gave me several parts to add to the collection of projects that we could have that he did not finish, but we will see. I don't want to put too much work into adding intercoolers and things like that if we've got, you know, potentially some serious engine issues that we really need to work out. But yeah, so hopefully there'll definitely be more driving videos, and you know, I'd like to get a baseline of where we're at now. Once I feel comfortable that the car is safe and we're not going to blow it up and getting into the high RPMs, and you know, I've got four-wheel ABS sensors going off right now, so I got to look into that. And you know, there's a lot of little things that I want to do to make sure this car is safe to drive. We don't have airbags, and you know, I guess it works a little bit, but yeah. So guys, yeah, I don't know what the future holds for this project, but I do want to make it a long-term project. You know, is it going to be a track car? I don't know. Is it going to be a drift car? Probably not, just because the drift scene around where I live it's really all like, tracks are all like an hour to 2 hours away. You know, there's not a huge presence for, there are some drift events locally. Being the condition that it is and what it could be and the potential value, I think it's a car that I would like to spend more time, you know, tuning, taking the shows, taking it to the track when we can. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll all depend on you guys. So we are about to wrap up this drive. I'm gonna head back to my house now. Getting a lot of crazy looks from all the golfers on the golf course. I'm hoping to get the car registered this week. Once I have it registered, we'll obviously do more intensive testing on some better wide open roads, but you know, mechanically the car runs okay so far. And you know, I think there's a lot of potential in this platform. So we will see you